I see the
Hi
private
and
chat.
welcome to oh, Hi and welcome to Spiritual Alchemy Energy. We're live now. Um, I'm here. This is my episode 115 with Mark Ruscitti. He is a wellness and longevity entrepreneur, lifestyle and transition business coach, social media expert, global internet entrepreneur, transformational life coach, home business coach, law of attraction coach, speaker, and Reiki Master. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Julianne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. So, I meet a lot of people over on LinkedIn, so it's really cool. And so you were one of those people I approached. Hey, how's it going? I think you approached me first, and so here we are. Is there anything you'd like to introduce to your to have the audience know about you before we get started into to our little conversation? We kind of have some topics to talk about tonight.
Well, sure. Yeah, you mentioned we met on LinkedIn, and I've gotten a little bit more serious on LinkedIn in the last year or so. You know, really on top of everything, I've been an IT guy for 25 years. That's been my main profession, and use LinkedIn as an online resume. But lately, I've been reaching out to people and real relationships, we call them. Trying to get to know people. Uh, so that's how we met, and that was fun. Um, and I'm using
Yeah,
the LinkedIn to kind of support my coaching initiatives and the lifestyle coaching and whatnot. Yeah.
fantastic. So we kind of chatted for a couple hours a couple weeks ago, and so you know everybody has a story about you know turning towards spiritualism or spirituality, and so you do have a little bit of a story to tell. Would you like to share that with us?
Sure. I was raised as a Catholic, and my mom very very strict in her teachings. But my dad's mom, my grandmother, she was a bit more spiritual, and so was my aunt. And my aunt was a basically an oops baby because my aunt was only 7 years older than me. So we were basically kids at the same time. She was well younger than my dad. And fast forward to about 2008, maybe. I had some things going on at my employer at the time in Chicago. Was a walking company, and she was going to go see her tarot card reader, this girl Cynthia that she really loved, and she always talked about Cynthia. And I said, well, why don't you take me with you? That was like my first experience with anything metaphysical, because this girl Cynthia with the tarot cards just told me things about myself that she just couldn't possibly know. I was like in awe, right? And so that started me on this quest of reading books and going and attending classes, and 14, 15 years later, I've done quite a bit with it. It's Yeah, that's how I got introduced to it. I was having some issues with my boss at work, and it's funny that Cynthia told me word for word what my boss ended up telling me 2 days later. It was kind of freaky. So, uh,
Wow, isn't that wild?
that was wild.
um so you turn to you do some coaching and transformational coaching. And from our talk before, I understand that you have 9 different practices within that transformational coaching that you use.
Right.
Uh-oh, you're kind of I'm
So
getting freezing on my
I
end.
oh, was the connection bad?
It was
Um,
for a moment, I don't know.
so I got involved with this transformational life coaching because I was working with a coach a few years back when I decided to to get a divorce, and I with her for a couple years, and um, back last December, I went and I talked to her again, and I said, yeah, Pat, let's talk about a few things again real quickly here. I wanted to change some directions, and we did the human design on me, and she reconfirmed what I always knew, that I'm really a teacher and a mentor and a coach, and and a healer really, and and I'd been doing a lot of those things in my IT career forever. Like at the watering company in the early 2000s, I was the first IT manager there that had an offshore team. And so I had been kind of mentoring and coaching, young people from around the world for years. I even went to India and I started some teams in India. And but anyway, so I started looking at a formal like coaching program that would interest me, and then I came across this gentleman Leon Vanderpool out of Thailand, and he wrote a book, a Shift in Being, and this is where he kind of explains the 9 practices. So I did his certification program, and basically what we're trying to do with the 9 practices is when we're doing transformational coaching. This is coaching for somebody who is, I like to say, they've gotten to the point in life where if they got another BMW or something of that effect, it's not really what they're looking for anymore. They're looking for something of more substance, right? And they've gotten to the point where they're comfortable in life. They've met all their physical needs. Now they're kind of looking for more of their spiritual needs, right? How do I grow? And that's even why he names the book a Shift in Being. But the 9 spiritual practices are, slow it all down and sync with the rhythm of life and spirit is number 1. Release your agendas and live your spiritual values. Nurturing a healing space. Let there be silence is number 4. Coach more from the heart and less from the head. Attune to your client's deeper sense of self and let that lead. And expand your capacity to be with pain and allow healing moments. It's amazing because when people do this transformational coaching, there's a lot of crying that goes on. Foster the emergence of what wants to happen. See, the whole idea is we're going to try and invite spirit in and allow spirit to speak to the client. And we want to really hope we get to the space where something emerges for them, right? And then we want to cultivate trust in the mystery and magic of transformation. So it's almost more like a facilitator in the role, not a traditional coach where like I'm trying to teach you your technique on how to shoot better free throws in the basketball. You know what I mean? It's a little different kind of coaching, but
Right. It's whatever comes up in that time. You can set intentions to work on something, but something else may come up through that experience.
or they may get an epiphany, right? So something's bothering them, whatever that might
Right.
be. The husband cheating on them, or who knows what it could be, that when they come and they sit down and they start getting into the coaching sessions. But as we go through it, we'll do a little meditation at the start. We invite spirit to come in, and then I do a lot of listening. And then after a while, when I see how
Right.
it's going, I might ask some questions to prompt some things. But really, I'm not telling them what they should be hearing from spirit. I'm just giving them the space to a safe space, a secure space for us to be connected. Even though we're going to be like you and I are probably on a Zoom, and hundreds of, not thousands of miles apart. But what we invite in like a sacred space, and we've got the sacred space between us, and we just kind of work in that space of allowance.
Right. Right. Um, did you do a lot of healing with this as you were going through that program yourself?
I did a lot of healing, and it was kind of interesting too, because we used to work with the other students. We had to do X amount of, okay, you be the facilitator and I'm the client, and then we'll switch roles throughout the 6-month program. And it was amazing to me that how many people were going through and have gone through the same things that I had gone through in my life. And what was interesting is finding out the way that was right for them to resolve that situation and move forward wasn't necessarily the way that was right for me. So it isn't a one size fits all on anything really, right? So
Right. Right. Everyone's different. We all have different, and even if we have some of the similar things to heal, we may have to heal other things before those things can be healed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, um, I don't think I put this on there, but you have a specifically home business coaching. Is that specifically for having your own home based business?
Right. I'm also I'm working on some alternative income streams for myself in terms of residual income, and I'm also helping other people along that same route. So
Okay.
that's one of the other
Okay.
things that I'm doing presently. Yep.
And then that differs, or it's the same thing. Does it differ to the work coaching where or replace, well, it kind of goes all along those same lines, I would assume. So setting a goal of where you want your income to be or where you want to be working in a field, um, ties into that type of coaching, correct?
Ties into it as well as like law of attraction. I have been and was a big Abraham Hicks law of attraction fan, and I've been practicing that for a lot of years. In fact, I had run a site for a while in a community for a couple of years that was specific just to the Abraham Hicks and law of attraction. I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm still a big Abraham Hicks fan, and so, you know, what our thoughts have gotten us to this point in life right now, right? If we want to believe that, wherever we happen to be right at the second, everything we did up to this point has got us here. But it's only our thoughts and what we want to visualize our life to be that's going to take us in a different path or into a different reality. And so that's kind of the how I bring the law of attraction into that. But I know for myself, like I have a big why in life here. And I would like to do a lot of traveling and meeting people and a lot of spiritual journeys here around the world going forward. So to do that, I need to find a way to pay for it. So that's why in my own life, I'm
Right.
looking at other income streams. And as I'm doing that, I'm also helping people along the same path with finding some other income streams. So,
So,
yeah.
what types of things do you want to experience in those travels with, spiritual travels, anyways?
Well, well, I would like to see a lot of sacred places in the world that I haven't seen. I haven't, beside India and a little bit in Europe, and of course the United States. I haven't seen a whole lot. I mean, things like Machu Picchu and the Great Pyramids and everything. I mean, those are the kinds of places I want to travel, and I actually see myself possibly leading groups of people in the future and making it somewhat of a meditative spiritual experience or healing experience. Um, but then how that manifests, it remains to be seen yet. But that's certainly in my focus.
Very cool. Do you want to go to an ashram and hang out there for like a week or a month or something?
Very well may. I mean, when I was in India, it was amazing because I spent a good month in India, and like I said, I was leading some younger people, on these IT people fresh out of college. And when I wanted to go see some temples and go to some places where they make, you know, um, some of the Indian instruments and everything, these people were looking at me like, "What is this guy, this American, want to do this kind of thing for?" He wants to go meditate. You know?
uh, yeah. How funny is that? That's great, though. Experiencing other cultures is wonderful. Um, and traveling, period. So, that's a big question. Where do you want to be in life? And it doesn't have to be work. It could be in life in general. So, um, you know, not so much. I guess there is healing in that when you ask that kind of question. So, is that a question? you start with some of your clients?
Where do you want to be in life? If they're saying,
Okay,
if they were to,
freezing.
if if in our first, if in our discovery call, that's kind of the thing that they want to work on, yeah, we would talk about that. If they want to work on something else, like
Sometimes.
why people don't treat them
Go ahead.
well, or why they always feel left out. I mean, people have a lot of things that are kind of the baggage that you pick up on life. So we could be doing a transformational coaching on a lot of different issues.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Um. Okay. Um. Okay. You're into life wave patches. Let's talk about that. Can you? Do you have a sample? Because I'm really curious what they look like. I don't know if you have anything in front of you that you can show us.
So these,
Ah.
um, a friend of mine here in Tampa, she happens to be a spiritual person and a healer and a musician, and also a disc jockey on Fridays. Introduced me to this company about a year ago when I was doing Leon's deep transformational coaching certification. And as you mentioned, the name of the company is LifeWave, and the inventor is here in the Orlando, Florida area, and he's got a technology. It's a phototherapy that basically uses the heat of your body, the infrared light. We all emit light, right? If you ever looked at through, infrared goggles, you'd see we all emit light. Well, anyway, when you emit this light, he's got a patch that reflects it back at a frequency that will basically activate a copper peptide in your skin, which will then tell your body to create more stem cells. And it's really a rejuvenation type product. And I don't know if your listeners know much about stem cells or stem cell therapy, but as we age, just like a lot of other things, our body produces much less of them. So, we start trimming down in our 30s, and then by the time we get into our 60s, we're only at about 30% of what we did when we were in our 20s. And so this technology is a way to basically increase your body's rejuvenation via new stem cells without having expensive injections and painful injections. Because if you ever had or anybody that had stem cell therapy, they inject it and it's quite painful, and it's actually very expensive. And so David Schmidt is the name of is the inventor and owner of the company, and he's got over 140 patents. And this X39 is his flagship, and this is the one that stimulates a copper peptide in your skin, and it's amazing. Actually, I've got friends, and like my friend Maria here in Tampa had a stroke, and she was still suffering with some paralysis on her right side and some cognitive difficulties, 6-8 weeks after the stroke, and she went on the patches and got immediate relief. It was amazing. Um, my own testimony on my own testimony on those is I've had some rejuvenation and some nerve damage I had suffered throughout the years. I almost cut off one of my fingers here about 15 years ago, trimming a bush. Didn't have any feeling in it for 15 years until I started using these patches for a few months, and all of a sudden I can feel in it again. So it does some pretty amazing things. So it fits in well with my healing modality. So.
Yeah. Issues. Sorry. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not seeing it on my end, but it might be on my. I'm not sure.
We're freezing.
It's showing that I have a good connectivity here.
Hello?
Sure.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hmm.
I'm having technical difficulties here. Maybe this will work better.
Would it work better if we turned off the video for a while?
Please. I'm sorry. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Having some technical difficulties here. Haven't had these in a while, so this is a little bit new here where I'm at.
I'm hearing and seeing.
I missed a lot. Okay, where do you see yourself going with this? Um, I know there's a program where you can introduce this to others to see for themselves how these life wave patches work, and that there's an opportunity there for them to share this with other people.
Well, that's true. There is an opportunity to share with other people, and that's one of the ways you can potentially make an alternate income stream. But what my focus is just trying to find people that can benefit from the healing properties of the patches, and then also people that could benefit from the business aspect of it. That's when I work with people and I meditate every morning. I'm like asking the universe to bring these people to me, or in my experience. So that I can help people, because I have seen the power of these patches and how they help people with various conditions, and I think they're amazing. And it's almost like I want to tell as many people as possible about it, because it's a super inexpensive a treatment as far as treatments go, and there's a tremendous results. We've got hundreds of testimonials.
I'm sorry about the technical difficulties here. Excuse me. Let's see. We talked about in our 2-hour chat that we had a couple weeks ago. We talked about boundaries, codependencies, and patterns, and working on those types of things. You want to speak on that, on any of those or all of them?
Sure. Well, I think I had a stage in my life where I was codependent, and actually, my ex-wife and I were probably codependent on each other while we were married, and I didn't realize that at the time necessarily. But afterwards, I realized that there was a codependency thing, and I suffer from the nice guy syndrome as well, right? Where I'm too much of a giver or people pleaser, and I had to work on myself on that, because I had problems saying no to people, right? And so I would end up getting taken advantage of, or doing things I really didn't want, and then thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, why did I do that? I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? Or whatnot. So
Right.
So I read a book, Codependency No
Right.
More, Codependent No More. It's a wonderful book. And I started to do some guided meditations on that as well, of putting myself first in a lot of cases, because, really, and it's true, when we're not healthy and happy and, flourishing, we don't have a whole lot to give anybody else, right? And so really, you have to take time to nurture and nourish your own needs. Otherwise, you just get burned out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so I'm a recovering codependent. So, um, and I found, once I put myself first and I started saying no and creating those boundaries with the people that were present in my life, um, they didn't like it very much.
Right. Oh no,
Have
they
you,
don't. Especially when they're
because
used
I
to you
was the
saying
people.
yes.
Right, exactly. And so that's like a whole nother thing to heal from, because you're trying to heal this crappy mode of living. And then when you do that, you're going to be met with this, but eh, in a sense, you're kind of having to heal some more trauma in situations, you know?
You're right, and people don't like to see when you change necessarily, and I think it's that when they see you going above where they're at, I think it breeds some resistance and some, animosity or whatnot, possibly, or some jealousy. They always talk about, they give that example of the one crab going into the crab trap, right? If you drop a chicken wing in there or whatever, and if one crab happens to go in there, and if that crab eats the chicken wing, he'll leave that cage before any other crabs come in there. But as soon as some other crabs drop in there, even after all the food's gone, the chicken's gone, when any of the crabs go to leave, the other ones pull them back. They pull them back. They won't let them out. They'll chew the other crab's legs and arms off to not let them leave. And that's almost kind of what you're explaining in regards to people, right? When you start changing it and growing above, then they want to pull you back down, it seems like. So that's one of the things when you are doing on your own healing journey and getting rid of the codependency and just really learning how to be yourself and live your life more for what you want it to be. People will try and pull you back.
Absolutely. It's sometimes it's difficult in this healing process, especially when you have a lot to heal from. Um, Bringing awareness to people about their patterns, their behavior. Do you have to point that out in your work? I mean, I mean, do you, how do you have to bring the client to the conclusion that they see it themselves, right? You can't like go, "Oh, look here."
Well, that's
you
the
know,
idea of transformational life coaching, and we give that nurturing space and that letting emerge what wants to emerge. Hopefully, that's what emerges for them is some realizations. That's really the idea of allowing their own spirit. You could call it inner being or spirit or their soul, however you want to think of it.
holding that space,
Yeah.
holding that space for them to probably cry or go, "Oh my god." I knew this, but it's a breakthrough, sometimes it's a breakthrough. Um, and I don't know how often you work with those clients over and over again on that same issue or issues connected to that issue.
Well, issues connected, but yeah. But once they usually have that breakthrough, the epiphany of what they really need to do, they don't usually fall back too much because you can, hey, this is what you decided, right? You were going to do this. This was your reasoning, or do you remember why you came to this conclusion? So we remind them a little bit on that.
So, curious because this is kind of a current thing in like psychology and other types of modalities, is trauma informed coaching, or trauma, just being a trauma informed person that uses, that experience in your work? Do you have any of that kind of background?
I don't really have that kind of background, honestly, like to deal with like major trauma.
Well, trauma informed is more in because people that have trauma behave a certain way. And so sometimes you have to approach things a little bit different. So that's like understanding that mindset of, somebody that's had so much trauma, and working with them. So I've had someone on my show that does trauma informed yoga.
Okay.
And so because they're probably working with people that have had some sort of physical or sexual abuse.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and so they have to, and they have a circle, but the circle is facing outwards. So no, like, so there's, because people with trauma will, they're not comfortable. They have to see things in a certain way, you know. So I don't know if you've experienced that with any of your clients.
No, I have. It's specifically actually the sexual abuse thing. I guess I wasn't following you there for a minute with the trauma informed. Um, one of my clients had a sexual abuse, so that she really didn't trust men at all, right? And to the
Right.
point where she was out of town and needed to use an Uber, but was afraid to get into the Uber because it was a male driver kind of thing, right?
Right.
Uh, and that was based on her experiences, 20 some years ago as a child, basically. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
So sometimes in, doing this work, we're not licensed medical professionals. So we have to, always make that disclaimer. We're not medical professionals. We don't diagnose. You need to seek medical care, but you still can be a trauma informed um healer. So it's a little different. It's understanding the mindset of that trauma victim
Right.
or survivor. Um, so okay. Let's talk about expanding awareness and some practices that you do to expand awareness. What kind of practices?
Well, in my metaphysical journey, I got involved with the Monroe Institute in their binaural beat technology.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you're familiar with that, so
Mm-hmm.
I'll do meditations with the binaural beats, which really gets you into that like that theta stage pretty easily, to where they say it would take a master yogi meditation. It might take somebody 20 years to be able to get into that deep level, but with
Mm-hmm.
the help of these binaural beats, you could get there pretty quickly, without having to do that work over all those years of quieting your mind just because of binaural beats. So I do a lot of that for expanding and then and a lot of times then that's when I'll start my visualizations of what I want my life to be or what I want to accomplish. So I do that meditation, and then also I do regular meditation too without music in the morning. Every morning I wake up and I light my candles and my incense, and I sit there and I call in my team. I have a team that I work with, but everybody should have their own team
Right? We
of
all
guides.
do.
My guides is what I'm saying, and
I've had to fire a few and get replacements and do interviews. So
I don't know. Well, I pull some in and out when I want them. I don't know that I fire them when they're not there. That's an interesting way to put that. So did you get guidance that you didn't like? And then you said, nope, you're out of here.
Well, I weren't always working to my highest and best good. So it was like, well, it's time. I think it's time for you to go. This is called healthy boundaries. It's like, this is my life. I'm taking interviews. So you can do that. It's absolutely possible. You can do that. If you can rewrite contracts that you have, you can totally, you know, upgrade your spirit guides. This guy won't go away, so he's locked in here. I think we've got a long-term contract,
Okay.
like, and not negotiable. So, yeah. So yeah, I know about binaural beats. Early on in my healing adventure, I used binaural beats. I had until recently had a binaural beats meditation on there where it would go through all the chakras. So each one had a different frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually, when you do meditation with that, it's super, super charging, I think, to come away like just cleansed and free. It reminds me I need to download it again and start using it. So
The other tool that I use is I've got the Heart Math Institute. Their what do they call? I forgot their brand name for it, but you clip it on your ear, and you're breathing through the heart, and it measures your coherence. And I'm just forgetting the name of their tool, but it's from the Heart Math Institute. It's a wonderful tool as well to open yourself up and expand awareness and expand your energy, further out, especially for Reiki healing and everything. You want to really you want your heart energy to be not contained. You want to have a big open heart chakra, and I find that is a really good device to use. The Heart Math Institute.
So I have to ask you. You brought up Reiki. I'm a Reiki Master teacher too. So I'm wondering, because everybody does their Reiki different. There's over 100 types of Reiki out there. There's thousands of energy modalities out there. So I'm curious as what you do in your modality. Is it simply to scan the body? And how do you scan the body if you do that in your practice?
Well, I went through the traditional Usuri Reiki, levels 1, 2, and then Master. And actually, I actually did it twice. I don't necessarily scan the body, although I can. But usually when I'm doing a hands-on healing, and I do a lot of it at the Unity Church, where people are sitting in a chair, right? Because we do a Wednesday meditation session, and then the Reiki practitioners will go up and they'll do hands-on, and I'll just basically put my hands either on their head like this or on their shoulders, and I just visualize. I said, well, first of all, I give thanks for allowing me to be the channel of healing energy, because I know that the healing doesn't come from me, right? We're channeling it through. And so I give thanks for that. And I do a little prayer, and I just ask the healing to go to where it's needed for this person. And I don't really try and scan them or try and read them like psychically at all. I just really try and just be a true conductor or a conducer of, sending the healing energy to them, trusting that it is going to go in where it's needed, right? And I'll do that. And every once in a while, though, as I'm standing there, I might get an inkling to move further on down, or maybe try and do something around that when their stomach, but I'm not really trying to scan for that. It's more just intuitively. But
Right.
and then intuitively you kind of know when it's done, and you close it down, and you move on to the next person. Some people are, maybe 30 seconds is enough, and other ones I've stood there for 5 minutes at times with people before. But I don't
Right.
understand how all that works, because then I didn't read them. I didn't really know what they were going on. And then afterwards, a lot of times when people are on their way out and they're like, wow, you did such a great healing on me. And I'm just
Yeah.
thankful, and I'm happy, but I couldn't tell you what I did exactly that healed them. I just asked I opened it up and I asked the energy to come in. And like I said, I was thankful that I could, you know, be the
Yeah.
channel of the healing.
Yeah. I totally get that. I took mine and I put it on steroids. And I enjoy, like, because I go into my Reiki psychically, and I connect that metaphysical anatomy, and I pull out stories with it. And then I use my sound equipment intuitively. So I understand that intuitive, you know, sense. So do you work with the chakras at all? Or are you ever called to work with the chakras in the auras?
Well, in that setting that I just told you, I don't really know much about them, and they're sitting there with their eyes closed meditating, so I don't have any communication with them. But if I had somebody here with me and they were telling me what was going on, then yeah, I would probably lay them down on the table, and then I would work with the various chakras. Um, like, for
Yeah.
example, if they're not
Yeah.
speaking, a lot of times people can't speak their truth, or they're not able to speak their truth, and we want to work on like the throat chakra for that, or whatnot. So
I'm always curious about how people do the Reiki, because I was a single student with my teacher, so I didn't really have any students to talk to and go da, 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 about this. Um, so it's just now I do. So I'm asking, and yeah, I kind of went into before I even took the class. I already had knowledge of it, like what how he taught it, and it was Usui Reiki. So I was kind of bored in the class, to be honest, because I was like, I already learned all of this before I came in here. I already like scanned the whole internet for stuff, and by the time I got there, I was kind of bored until the end, practicing the Reiki on him. So, um,
well,
anyways,
part of it's getting the attunements right for level one,
yeah,
level two, level
yeah,
three. And so,
yeah,
you know
yeah. The attunements is, yeah, those are trippy. How did you do with your attunements when you got them?
well, I think I did all right, but I did go back and I did the whole sequence again, though, just like I wanted to double make sure. I did it once with one instructor, and then I went back and I did it with another lady. Then, about 6 months later, and they both taught a little bit differently. But I mean, the symbols are the symbols, right? The Chakure and the
Right.
Heisikai, the distance healing, which I can never pronounce that one, Hanshenzo. uh, uh,
I don't even try.
But you know what I do when I do open up my Reiki with a Reiki session with someone, I usually, like, if they're sitting here in front of me, I usually over their head draw the symbols over their head when I open up the session.
Yeah, I should be
That
doing that
yeah.
show. Power. Um, what was I going to ask you? Or something I was going to ask you. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, but so when I got my attunements, especially like the first one and the second one, I had you kind of open up more psychically. Did you have that experience at all? Like your
Mhm.
intuition is raised? a few notches. You kind of, because when you get attuned, you kind of go through a healing period too.
Right.
So did you have that same kind of similar experience?
Yes. Actually, I remember right after getting attuned the first time, some really vivid dreams for a few weeks afterwards and whatnot. So there was definitely some stuff going on there. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy. It's like your light gets turned on. So do you do distance Reiki with people?
I do. I don't do Reiki. I'm not. I don't do it for money at all. When I do Reiki, it's always just my love offering. I do it that way,
Right.
and I will do distance, and I have. I've actually been working. I was working on my mom's dog recently. Back in
They
Chicago, her dog's got a cancer thing going on,
it,
so I have been doing that. And when I do distant, well, they teach you to do it a few different ways. But if I have a photograph, I'll usually hold the photograph
mm,
in my hands of the person, or in this case, my mom's dog, because I was out there recently. I did have a photograph with her, but you can use a surrogate too, right? You can use like a stuffed animal and hold it in your hands or whatever. But that's kind of what they teach you to do is put something like in your hands on the distance, and you also use the distant healing symbol. But either a picture or some kind of surrogate is the way I was taught to do the distant healing.
yeah, I make a pillow person
There you
as if they're there, and
Mhm.
I put my crystals out and use a certain blanket. I don't know if I have that, but it doesn't matter. I haven't been doing those. So it's pretty. Distance healing is just as powerful as in-person healing. You know, have
It's
you?
proven that it is. You know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. People that are kind of like skeptical of this, and I've done Reiki on people like this, and they can actually feel the energy where they're at, and they're hundreds of miles away, and they're like, oh my God, I felt it. I'm
mhm.
like, yeah. In fact, I had a healer. I don't know if I told you this. Um, I worked with a healer, and she actually was a few hundred miles away from me, and she could actually move my limbs. I was like, oh my God, this is so weird.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would like to see that or experience that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I don't know where she's at now, but yeah, that's she can do that.
So
I was
what did you get a healing, or I mean, what was your
I
benefit?
I was working with two healers for, about 3 or 4 weeks. And so we would do different things. So this one particular time, she was trying to balance some energy and open up my hips in this particular session that we worked. And yeah, she kind of got frustrated. I'm not always the best like student or client. I'm gonna make you earn your money.
Jeez. Yeah. The
You gonna
problem.
me? Uh,
Well, but I
hey,
mean, but why were you not a good client in that instance, though? You said that she was actually,
that
you could
was
feel your limbs moving and everything. So what?
well, she didn't she was trying to achieve something in that healing session with me, and it wasn't that I was personally resisting consciously. It's that there was a lot more healing, and there still is, in order to heal that. So you can't force somebody to heal. You can, apply the energy there, but it's not necessarily going to heal.
So, but okay, you're 100% right, and that's actually the same thing with the transformational coaching. Yeah, I can't guarantee that at one session that person's going to have that epiphany. You know what I mean? It could take some time.
Exactly. You can't like, you're going to heal today and you're going to heal this. It doesn't work that way. No, I will like challenge my teachers, and I'll be like, I will challenge them. I'll be like, you're telling me this is like the only way. This is the only way to do this. Like, I'm calling BS on you. That's like, there's probably 100 million ways to do this. It's got to be done. It's like, come on, really? So, and then of course, I'm not going to listen to them. I'm going to do it my way. Because I'm ornery.
I mean, that's okay, I think. I mean, right. You do what works and what feels comfortable, right? In terms of the energy healing space. I don't know at a point in time that there is a wrong way. And I do remember going through the Reiki classes that at one point he was asked to work on somebody that was like a staunch Christian, and they were worried that this wasn't really a Christian type thing to do, the Reiki. So he went in with his Reiki tools and he said Christian prayers out loud as and he did the energy work, and it worked fine, right? So I think you can adapt it to work with the person, the individual, in an instant like that.
Right. Well, this was my poor little channeling teacher. I did a lot of healing with her. I did a lot of courses with her, and she's amazing. She's this young woman. She's probably 25 now, and amazing teacher, amazing healer. She's just keep going. So really impressed with this woman, but she was just one of them that I've challenged over the years. And I will challenge my students too. It's like, no, you got to open your mind. Open your mind. It's not this, just this. It's this, right, Mark? And that's what you do. You work on mindset with your clients in these coaching sessions, right?
For sure.
So, affirmations. Do you give them scripts for affirmations?
I will help them work out affirmations. I think I find affirmation, it has to resonate with you, right? I mean, I could say that I'm, a billionaire 100 times a day, all day long. And if I don't really feel like I'm a billionaire, I don't think it's ever really going to manifest, right? You got to have the right feeling. So affirmations have to be something that really resonates with somebody.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's really important with affirmations.
Exactly. And it's not one size fits all. It is not one size fits all. I totally agree with this. Yep. Is there anything that you would like to cover before we close tonight? Because we kind of just went all over.
Well,
is there any topics you want to talk about, or anything you have coming up? Any offerings?
Well, if anybody wants to know more about the LifeWave, please reach out to me on my website or at my email. That would be great. Because I'd love to talk about that. I'm excited about it, and I would love to talk about that. On the coaching, we talked about the deep coaching a bit, but I'm doing a couple of different things. The deep coaching is one type of coaching, and then law of attraction or manifest coaching, or abundance coaching is a little bit different. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. So the transformational deep coaching really is a pretty specific type of coaching where we've got somebody that really wants to grow, and they're kind of stuck, but they're ready, and they're ready for a big shift in their life, and that's a little bit different than trying to make some extra money in a different business, right? I do both, but those are two different things. I guess maybe I should just clarify that, because we might have intermixed them up a little bit.
Do you integrate your Reiki in any of your modalities or practices?
Well, I do, but like I said, Reiki's not one thing that I like offer a charge for. I like to go do Reiki. I go to Reiki shares all in my local area, or if I know somebody needs healing or whatever, I'll ask them if I can do healing, and I just kind of do that. That's kind of that's like my, you want to call it charity work, I guess. I just never think of charging for that, or I would. I know a lot of people do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but
Right.
I don't. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I make an effort to go out and try and go to Reiki shares and everything, and just do healing. It makes me feel good, and you know what? Actually, as a healer, a lot of times you feel better afterwards as well. That's what the energy does, right? And
right.
I'm not doing it so that I feel better. I'm just saying, but I mean, you do. That is
right, because you have the energy flowing through you. It's healing energy. So when you are working on someone, you're getting a benefit of it. So yeah. So again, let's share your website. liveyoungerwithmark.com. Brand new website. Is you can email him, you can go to his website, you can find him over on LinkedIn, and it's Mark Ruscitti. That's Ruscitti. So I just want to thank you for joining me tonight and having a discussion and sharing what you do to help other people. It's been a pleasure to have you tonight, Mark.
Thank you, Julianne. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was a great way to meet on LinkedIn, and it was. Well, I know we'll have a relationship for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank our viewer for tonight, or viewers. Thanks for stopping by. If you want to get in touch with Mark or myself, please reach out to us, and we'll answer any questions that you might have, or hook you up with some modalities that we do. And thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Okay.